Hello friends, this is Worm, and I apologize for yesterday. I was a little bit busy and didn't have time to make the video that I was going to make, but also I was in the process of making a video talking about some of the issues that we're having in the Crucible, particularly things like players leaving the game, particularly with the competitive playlist and how the two game modes in the competitive game list are not all that great. We're also talking about lobby balancing and stuff like that, and lo and behold, Bungie drops a TWAB, or a TWID, sorry, and they basically address everything that I was going to talk about in that video. And so like the whole video would have just been pointless to talk about because everything that I was talking about in that video was just addressed in the TWAB. So I figured we'd talk about the TWAB today and just go over some of the stuff, some of the stuff on this list. 6v6 map waiting, which is really nice. Improved lobby balancing, updated quitter systems, which we just talked about that earlier this week as well. Sandbox update, of course. There's some stuff for trials, some stuff for comp, and some stuff for Iron Banner as well. But the first thing I want to start off with is the map waiting. And this is a huge change. So they're basically increasing the weight for Javelin 4, Burnout, Endless Veil, Cirrus Plaza, Dissonance, and Eventide Ruins. So the 3 new ones, which is fantastic, but also some of the fan favorites from our original map set, Javelin 4 being my personal favorite of the 3 originals. But they're also reducing the weight for Disjunction, Cathedral of Dust, Convergence, Twilight Gap, and Exodus Blue. Here's what I have to say about that. Something that's, I've done pretty frequently, and I don't always do videos about it, but what I'll do is when a new season comes out or a new expansion drops, whatever, I will count the maps that I play on. I have a spreadsheet with every single map in Destiny 2, and I will change the number every time we play on a map. I will add that many times. So first game, play on Javelin 4, so Javelin 4 has 1, and I count how many times I play each map, and I do it into a percentage. And there are some times where the percentage is pretty nice. You can tell which maps are weighed in more heavily and stuff like that. For example, back in Witch Queen, Disjunction was at like a 30% play rate. Like it was at 30% of the games I played were on Disjunction, and everything else, I think the next highest was like 10%, which was ridiculous, stuff like that. But they are making these more, like these close range maps, these more fun maps, quite frankly, going to be popping up more often in your playlist, which I think is really good. One of the things I'm really surprised about is seeing Twilight Gap and Exodus Blue not popping up in the having reduced weights. I love Twilight Gap. I like Exodus Blue a lot. It's not like my favorite, but I like Exodus Blue a lot. I also really like Cathedral of Dusk, but I also understand why they're doing this with Cathedral of Dusk, because it's a huge map, and there's a lot of running between blah blah blah. So yeah, I think this is exciting that we're going to see more of these close range maps, and so yeah, that's the map waiting. We also have lobby balancing here. Basically, the way that they sum it up here is they're going to be changing this just a little bit so that teams are more balanced. How many times has it happened where you were in a game, and especially in Iron Banner, which Iron Banner, we'll talk about that a little bit later, but how many times are you in a game and you mercy the enemy team, and then the very next game your team and you get mercied? And then it's like this flip-flop, like you mercy, get mercied, mercy, get mercied. And like, that's not really a fun way to play the game, especially because, matchmaking takes a couple minutes sometimes, so you're waiting in there, and then you get in the game and it's mercied within 3 minutes of starting, 2 minutes of starting. So they're changing that, which I'm pretty excited about. The lobby balancing thing, we just talked about this a little bit earlier this week, with lobby balancing, and also we talked about quitters, and this is one of the big things, because Bungie, they haven't been able to get the whole quitter situation right, in my opinion. Like, we had it before Witch Queen. I think things were actually really in a decent spot in terms of quitters. Like, there wasn't a lot of people quitting games. You'd have somebody quit a game every now and then, but it wasn't that big a deal. Then Witch Queen dropped, and they implemented punishments for leaving like 2 or more games. Like, you got a warning on your first game, then you got banned on your second game, which was ridiculous because of the amount of error codes and stuff that you just didn't have control over. Like, oh, I have to go do something, my kid's getting into something, so I have to go leave the game and take care of them, blah blah blah, whatever. So they're basically changing the quitter penalty so that habitual quitters, which is something that I don't like when people habitually quit games just because things aren't going in their favor, are going to be punished. And I think this is really going to help the game a lot. Obviously, I think it happens to every one of us. We get in a game where somebody literally will leave, or 2 or 3 people will leave a game right at the start just because things aren't going their way. Okay, like literally I watch it happen. Like I will get into a game, you know, and we all know, you can tell who is like who's an ego player and who's not. Okay, you run to the B flag at the start of the game, you know, blah blah blah. And it happens to me all the time. I run to the B flag, I go invis, I take a route that's not really common for players to take, and I see the blacked out warlock with transversive steps, Icarus dash in and all this stuff, and you know, they see me and I start shooting them, you know, and they start shooting me and they're like, you know, crouch spamming and stuff, and I kill them, boom, they leave the game immediately. Like I just destroyed their ego. But it's like, that's not okay. Like people that quit games like that, they deserve to be punished pretty harshly. Okay, they deserve to not be able to play the game. And basically what Bungie's saying here is you're gonna have some different standings. You're gonna have your good standing, which is if you play several matches, you don't leave, like you're gonna be in good standing. So if you do have to leave a game, it's gonna be lenient on you. It's gonna be, okay, whatever. But if you leave a high percentage, they didn't specify what the high percentage is here. Okay, it's actually, I think, down, yeah, right here. If you habitually quit a high percentage of your games, what is a high percentage? I'm thinking that a high percentage should probably be like, I would argue 1 in 3, you know, 33%. Like if you're, no, I would say it should be probably like 1 in 7. Like if you leave, or 1 in 5, I bet they go with 1 in 5. So 20%. If you leave 20% of your games, you're going to be put in a probationary status, okay, where it's really watching you if you're leaving game stuff. And if you continue to leave games, you're going to have, you know, it's going to have an escalating, as they put here, an escalating timeouts from the Crucible for every match left. So, you know, I think this is good. This is going to address one of those issues. You know, it's been better since Witch Queen. You know, obviously we've gone through Lightfall, we've gone through Final Shape now, but it still is pretty prominent that people are quitting frequently. So I'm very excited about these changes here. So now, you know, that nerd that wants to leave the games because, you know, he lost his first gunfight is now going to be punished. And you know who you are. Sound off the comments, nerds. Abilities, of course, Threaded Spectre, Swarm Grenade, we knew these were getting changed. For Threaded Spectre, they actually reduced the aim assist strength on that Threaded Spectre by 50% versus players, and added a short delay before aim assistance takes effect. This is absolutely huge, because the way that Threaded Spectres are currently used, right, is players will dodge like right mid gunfight and go behind that Threaded Spectre and just kind of, you know, strafe back and forth around it so that you cannot shoot them, because your aim assistance is constantly sucking towards that Threaded Spectre. And the fact that they're changing this, number one, so it has less aim assistance, but number two, it's not going to activate immediately. This is completely changing the way that players are going to be able to use Threaded Spectre. Like, no longer are you going to be able to just dodge and get a free win out of that gunfight. Like, if you dodge, like, your Threaded Spectre is not going to have aim assistance. The enemy is still going to be attacking you. You're going to put yourself at a disadvantage, because when you dodge, you're taking yourself away from the ability to fight. Like, you can move around as you dodge, you know, you can dodge in like a circle, or you can dodge back into the left, whatever, but you can't actively fight back. And so if somebody rounds the corner, you know, and they start shooting you and they hit you once or twice and you dodge, like, you're gonna be at a substantial disadvantage. And now I think this is gonna change the way that Threaded Spectre is used to be more of a I don't know how to put it, like more of a defensive super, not quite so offensive. You know, you put it on you know, a place where you want to trick enemies, think there's more of you, you know, stuff like that. But they're reducing that aim assistance. They're reducing they're giving it a delay before it activates, which I think is such a big deal. They're also reducing Threaded Spectre detonation damage by players by about 45%. You know, I really never had an issue with the detonation damage. I'm pretty sure it was already nerfed once before. Like, it used to do a certain amount of damage. I don't remember. It used to be like it would obliterate, you know, you. And then they nerfed it down so that, you know, it wasn't quite as good, but it's still decent. Now they're nerfing it by another 45%. This almost has me worried that a particularly really fun playstyle, which is using Bombardiers with Threaded Spectre, is going to just go away, because Bombardiers with Threaded Spectre would allow you to get an insta kill on somebody in a pinch. Like, if they were close to you, if you had a shotgun rusher, sorry, you could dodge, it would blow up, you know, you shot your strand clone like one time, it would blow up, the bomb would hurt them, like, and all that stuff. You could kill them. I don't know if you're gonna be able to do that anymore. So yeah, that's Threat Inspector. But moving on, we got Swarm Grenade here. Of course, they've reduced the distance that Swarm Grenades sub-munitions projectiles can travel once they begin tracking by 20%. From what I'm understanding here, reduce the distance that Swarm Grenade sub-munition projectiles can travel once they begin tracking by 20%. That means that they're still going to have the same speed, but they're not going to track you for like as long, right? So you know, beforehand, like, you know, you'd run into one, you'd have to turn around, you just keep running, and eventually you would either get away from them after like 5 seconds, it seemed like, or you just get hit by them regardless. Now they're changing that. I think that this change, they probably could have gone a little bit more than this. I don't know, we'll have to, you know, we'll have to get in here and test it out and see once this drops in a couple weeks. But I think that they probably could have done a little bit more than just this, but that's the changes coming to Swarm Grenades. Again, both of these did need to be addressed because they're absolutely everywhere. But yeah, those are the ability changes. Really, I'm not going to go over everything in this TWAB, you know, the special ammo economy and stuff. One thing I did want to point out about special ammo economy, where is it? Right here. 76. Okay, so with the blended system, shotguns are currently accounting for 64% of special ammo kills, which is really bad, and they need to change it. But they're talking about how they're looking at potentially changing it. Trials, of course, is getting some stuff changed here. You know, they're getting some changes to the passages. Basically, they're trying to make it more about 3v3, like joining up with a team of 3 to get your, you know, your wins and stuff like that. Right here, when playing as a trio for game completions, you get an additional 50% chance of the non-adept weekly weapon, you know, blah blah blah, stuff like that. Also in Passage of Persistence, when you play as a trio, we've updated the passage so that losses will no longer remove wins. Again, they're just wanting players to play more 3v3 as opposed to just hopping into trials solo, which they could have just left it the way they had it beforehand, where you had to play it in 3v3s, but I don't know, they decided to just incentivize it more. But here's the big thing I want to talk about: competitive. They are changing several things, but mainly the game modes. And one of the issues that I had with the competitive playlist is the game modes, and this is something like I said, I was making a whole video talking about it. The game modes in this the competitive playlist, Clash and Collision, they are really not fun. Clash especially, Clash is really long and drawn out. Like it's kind of ridiculous how long these games take and stuff like that. And really, one of the major issues that I had with the competitive playlist, and particularly Clash right now, or Clash in the comp playlist, is teams would snowball. Number one, the games would take forever, but 2, teams would snowball really quickly, because what would happen is you had 2 teams that meet in the middle of the map. For example, one team would kill, you know, 1 or 2 players. The third player would kind of move backwards, so the enemy team would collapse in on them. Then next thing you know, you have split spawns. You have 2 people spawn on one side, 1 person spawn on the other, and that would happen very frequently. And of course, like in any situation where you have 3v1 or 3v2, like the team of 3 is more than likely going to win. So you'd have snowball games that would, you know, you'd end up losing like 18-40, which is kind of ridiculous. And that game would take absolutely forever to actually, you know, get completed. So they're changing those 2 things. They're basically making it hold on, let me find it real quick. It's somewhere in here. Here we go. Sorry, to reduce the, okay, so they're reducing the score to win, so that should hopefully, right there, bring it close to that 8-minute target, which I think the game should be short. I think 6 minutes would be a more optimal target for 3v3, but you know, but also they're changing the spawns to have it so you spawn close to your teammate. They say they recently made this change to Clash, which I have kind of noticed, I guess, a little bit, not as much as I would like. But in Collision, the other issue that I was going to talk about is, you know, the spawns are really weird, because the team that seems to cap the flag is the one that's going to hold it for the duration of however long is going on. But they're changing it so you'll spawn nearer to your teammates. They're just changing the spawn logic in that whole system. So I'm very excited to see those 2 changes coming to the game modes and the comp playlist. And then finally, Iron Banner, they're just changing some fire team based matchmaking and some skill based matchmaking and stuff like that. So yeah, that's kind of it. That's the Crucible update. This is not the one we wanted, but it's the one that we needed to hear from. and I'm super excited that we're finally getting some changes, especially like I said to that comp playlist, and you know, quitters, lobby balancing, and map weights. I really didn't expect to see map weights in here. I was excited to see that we're going to be getting these maps more often, and getting this map and this map less. These three right here, I really like these maps. It's kind of a bummer they're reducing the weight on these. But I don't like convergence. I don't like disjunction. Anyways, whatever. But yeah, so this video is taking place in the video I was originally going to talk about. But yeah, tell me all your thoughts on the Crucible changes that are coming. I'm pretty excited for most of them. I'm especially sort of excited for that quitter penalty, because hopefully people are going to be quitting less in games, and hopefully, you know, we'll have more entertaining games whenever, more teabagging, more emoting and stuff like that. But yeah, that being said, tell me your thoughts in the comments. Of course, do me a favor, drop a like, helps the channel out a lot. Subscribe for more daily Destiny content, conversations, debates, discussions, stuff like that. And do me a favor, watch the videos you see here on the end screen, because for whatever reason YouTube thinks you will like them. Guys, I will see you on the next one. Bye for now.